What's up, Marvel fans? We're the Hills Maniacs, and as you all know, the trailer for Avengers Doomsday just recently released a few days ago as of this recording, and it comes with a lot to unpack, really. They revealed a lot of things about the movie, which obviously a trailer is supposed to do, but with that also, there's a lot of questions that we have about some of the things that are occurring in this trailer, some things that seem a bit off, and that sort of thing, and a lot of things that people are questioning and theorizing about after seeing the trailer. So, without further delay, here are our biggest questions that we had after seeing the Avengers Doomsday trailer. So first of all, I think one of the biggest talking points from this trailer was the scene where Thor reunites with Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. As we know, this is obviously, I assume it's the same Steve Rogers that went back in time in Avengers Endgame to return the stones and everything, and is now being brought back into the fold because of the events of Doomsday. However, a lot of people, when you really look at what this Steve Rogers looks like and what he's saying and everything else, something just seems off.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at Steve and how he looks here compared to the other scenes that we've seen from supposedly from the movie, where he's at his house and all that stuff with Peggy, he doesn't have facial hair in those scenes,
right?
But then he does here.
Even that thing at the beginning of the year that they released, that Captain America will return thing, or that little mini trailer that they released with a bunch of other ones earlier this year, he doesn't have the facial hair either. He's just dancing with his child and that kind of thing. And I think what's odd too is the facial hair that he has in this particular scene in the Doomsday trailer doesn't look like what he looked like, in Infinity War when he had that facial hair before he shaved it off for Endgame. So there's just something odd about it. And in my opinion, I feel like they're either CGIing Chris Evans' face onto someone else's body to try and hide who Thor is actually interacting with in this particular scene, or they're just kind of manipulating it in some way to kind of hide a different character that's actually there. Some people are obviously saying that this is Loki in disguise, but I don't really know why Loki would look like this as, if he disguised himself as Steve Rogers, why he has facial hair. So the last time Loki saw Steve Rogers, he didn't have facial hair, So that kind of theory doesn't really make sense to me, but...
Yeah, it's one of those things where, we've seen Loki, transform into Steve Rogers before. He did it in, was it Thor the Dark World when they were walking through the hallway?
And then Endgame also in the flashback.
Even in the flashbacks and stuff. We've seen it happen before, and it's always a perfect mimicking of whoever he's turning into. So for him to look kind of like CGI-y, it just doesn't fit that it's Loki. I am also on the train of I don't think it's the same Captain America. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's somebody else and they're CGIing Chris Evans' face like you said, or if it is a Steve Rogers variant. But either way, it has to be somebody who's worthy of Mjolnir, because this is the same Mjolnir from Thor Love and Thunder that Jane Foster had, which was the same one with the spell that Odin put on it, that if they're worthy, they possess the power of Thor. So, as of right now, only Steve Rogers and Thor could have held it, and if this isn't a variant of Steve Rogers that's also deemed worthy, no amount of magic or manipulation or anything, I don't think, is going to be able to allow him to hold Mjolnir. So the fact that he takes it from Thor shows that if this isn't Steve Rogers, it's somebody else who's also worthy, which I guess in a way could be a variant of Tony Stark, or even Loki if it's the God of Stories Loki, because by that point he's kind of redeemed himself and, proved that he should be worthy. So he might be worthy of it at that point. But that's something to take into consideration too, is that he takes Mjolnir from Thor, so he has to be worthy to hold it.
Right, and it almost seems like we're getting two different versions of Steve Rogers in this movie. We're going to get whatever this one is with the facial hair, if it is, as people have theorized, Captain Hydra, which is a variant of Steve Rogers that joins Hydra and actually does wield Mjolnir in the comics for a brief period of time, I've heard, but it was from some kind of spell or something from some other character. Morphed reality or something to allow him to do that, but I don't think they're going to go that in depth with it or anything. But
I mean, Marvel is known for that.
I know, but if this isn't Steve Rogers, then like who is it? I heard one crazy theory that this is like a variant of Thor being played by Chris Evans or something like that.
I mean, it would explain
that just seems like weird.
The facial hair kind of.
And then also you have that the moment where he says "Hey pal" and that kind of, like
that's not Chris Evans.
I heard that Steve Rogers never really calls anyone pal. Like maybe Bucky, I think he said it like one time. He's never really said that to Thor before.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that's kind of throwing people off or making people suspect something's up with this scene. Because he never really refers to Thor as pal before. And it does kind of, if you listen closely, it kind of sounds like Robert Downey Jr.'s voice in that scene. So, like, maybe the way that they pieced it together through editing and everything is that this is Thor turning around and seeing the face of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
But Doctor Doom unmasked, like, trying to infiltrate them from the inside and gain their trust and everything. And that's why he says, this is not possible or something. Because I don't think he'd be that surprised by seeing, a variant of Steve Rogers or even a variant of anybody because he just did this whole time travel thing. So that wouldn't really surprise Thor in that regard. So the fact that they had him say that, I think he's reacting to something else and not Steve Rogers here. But either way, it is kind of suspicious the way that they put this whole scene together, this interaction between Thor and Steve Rogers. So obviously we'll have to wait and see what actually happens or who he's actually talking to. But it does seem just a bit off.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to just build off of that just a little bit. Like, I kind of agree that, like, it has to be somebody that Thor wouldn't expect to see. And I think seeing Tony Stark, like, this could have been at the beginning of the movie, right? And it's like Thor comes back and then he sees Doctor Doom, who looks just like Tony Stark, and he's like, it's impossible. And then Doom could be like, hey, look, I got Steve with me. And then he grabs Mjolnir, and it's all together. That way he falls for it like, oh yeah, this is Tony and Steve. So it could be Doctor Doom. That could be a variant of Steve Rogers with, RDJ's Doctor Doom in the background kind of creeping around or whatever. But I don't think the scenes are one and the same. I think they are two different scenes where he says it's not possible and then Steve grabs Mjolnir. Right, and Marvel's known for, manipulating things in these trailers. Like, you look at that Infinity War one with everybody running in the woods at Wakanda. Like, that whole scene didn't happen. The Hulk wasn't even in Wakanda. So they're manipulating it. I don't know who they're trying to hide or what they're trying to hide here, but obviously we'll get some answers when the movie comes out or whatever. But I just think it's interesting that a lot of people are really looking into this particular scene in the trailer, and they ended the trailer, with that scene as well. So it's meant to be this like big build-up thing or something, and so it's meant to put your attention on it. So hopefully we'll get some answers, and hopefully it's revealed that it's not an evil Steve, it's just the normal one. But regardless, moving on to question 2. What is Loki up to, and why is he not on the throne? We see a clip where he's holding, a TVA ID badge or something. And it looks like somebody. Yeah, and it looks like he might be in Steve's home from that scene that we saw with him and Peggy with the baby. Right. So he could be trying to go tell Steve, like, hey, you created a branch timeline, you need to go back and, live out your life in the normal timeline, and then that could be why Steve goes back and is hold on the bench at the end of Endgame. Because he had to go back and do that, but it takes the whole movie for him to realize that. But yeah, the question then is that Loki? Is that a projection of Loki? Is that like a flashback scene? Like what's going on with Loki? Because from what I understand from like how it would work with him holding all these timelines together is that like he couldn't leave.
Yeah, like he became
because then everything would kind of break apart.
Right.
And he became that loom, like you said. So I don't know how he would be able to physically be there unless he was projecting himself like he's known to do. But then again, this is Marvel and he is Loki, and so I'm sure there could be a way. But I'm gonna bet and say that this is either a flashback to before he becomes God of Story Loki, like when he starts kind of working with the TVA, that sort of thing. Like he's trying to get it fixed before that, and then when it doesn't work, then he goes and does everything in Loki season 2. Or this is some kind of like variant in an alternate reality of Loki.
I don't know how really any version of Loki approaching Steve Rogers wouldn't set off a red flag for Steve Rogers. Like, I think he would fight him at the door if he tried to approach his home or whatever.
True.
Like, what would Loki even do to gain Steve Rogers' trust, I guess? Even showing up as the TVA version. I kind of didn't like this scene in the trailer because it kind of like... I mean, first of all, it was really brief, just like showing Loki and then moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But I don't like that they didn't show something to do with him like on the throne or trying to hold the timelines together, or even some kind of battle between him and Doom. Like, I know this is only the first trailer, so maybe we will see that. Maybe this scene even takes place like after Doom gets to the end of time and like throws him off the throne, and then he has to assemble the Avengers to try and stop Doom or something along those lines. But I don't know why he'd be back in his TVA uniform, I guess. But it most likely is just like some kind of flashback thing. But again, I don't know why they would put a lot of focus on this. Like, it seems like it'd be some kind of important thing, like to have Loki interacting with Steve Rogers. The fact that they went to so much, detail and they went to so much trouble to hide, like, who was holding the TVA card. Like, you see a wedding ring on the finger and everything, but we're meant to assume, like, Loki's holding the card, but he doesn't have a wedding ring. So then you look at it, it's got to be Steve Rogers then. So then it begs the question, why is Loki there? What's he do? Is he warning Steve about things that are going to happen, or is he recruiting Steve for help? Like, I need your help saving your friends from this timeline because Doom is coming, that kind of thing. So either way, it just felt like a weird scene to me to show Loki like that instead of showing like, oh, Loki's going to be in this and he's still the god of stories or something and he's still holding the trees together. Yeah. But I'm sure we'll get, more of a glimpse in upcoming trailers and stuff. Maybe we'll get something along those lines where he's back on that throne like we said. But either way, that one just kind of felt weird. But it is cool to see that Loki's in this movie though. Yeah,
and I think we can all kind of agree that something's going to happen where either Loki dies or Doom overthrows him, and either Doom sits on the throne or puts somebody else on the throne.
That's what I think is probably the most likely scenario. Yeah. I don't think Loki's making it out of this movie. But
poor Loki, he's been through so much.
He keeps getting killed, and then
no resurrections.
Again. Yeah. The next question we have is, now obviously, like I said, this is a first trailer. I think it's more considered like a teaser trailer for the movie because there's still like 6 months till the movie comes out, so we'll probably get an official like 2 to 3 minute trailer later on down the line. But just from this trailer alone, it begs the question, where are the other heroes at? People like Doctor Strange, people like America Chavez, who's known for hopping through the multiverse and stuff like that, as we saw in Doctor Strange 2, and just people like that. Like, where's Captain Marvel even? A character Spider-Man. Like that. It's Spider-Man, right? Like, I know a lot of the actors are confirmed to be in Secret Wars, but not in Doomsday, and that just kind of doesn't make sense, like why they would hold off on some and not the others. I know it's a paycheck and budget thing and everything else. They can't pay everybody to be in the movie.
Look at what they did with Endgame.
I know. But it just seems weird that like some of these heroes wouldn't be intervening in some way. Yeah. Especially if it's like universe ending or there's collisions of the universe, the 3 different universes and that through the incursions. It just doesn't make sense that like they wouldn't at least even seek out Doctor Strange or Wong even for that matter for help in this kind of situation.
Well, and that kind of brings it up, too, for, like, the other realities that we see in this. Like, we know the X-Men are in it, and their world is getting hit with what looks like an incursion. So, where's everybody else that's in that? And if that's the same X-Men timeline that Deadpool is from, then where's Deadpool?
Where's Deadpool?
And if it's not the same,
Nightcrawler too. He is
in it. He just wasn't in the trailer.
Yeah.
But like,
so that was kind of weird too.
Even if this is a different X-Men timeline from where Deadpool was, is this the one that Monica ended up in? And if it is, then where's Monica?
And again, that begs the question: if she's in it, then where's Captain Marvel?
Right.
Like trying to find
Miss
her
Marvel, and then where's her mother, whoever she is in that universe? So like all these questions kind of arise just because there's not enough characters in this movie. I feel, and it's the most random kind of assortment of characters. Like you have, I kind of get what they're trying to do. Like they want to make it seem like it's just going to be a washout for Doctor Doom, and he's just going to like everybody's going to die, and then the movie's over, that sort of thing. But and maybe some of these characters will come in either at the end to set up Secret Wars, kind of like what they did with Infinity War and Endgame, where everybody wasn't together until Endgame.
So then, like Secret Wars will be.
But Secret Wars will be kind of like that. But then when you kind of look at the trailer and stuff, it does look like the majority of people that are actually going to be able to do something are absent. And so it's like, why wouldn't you be Doctor reaching Strange. Out to them?
Yeah.
Anyway, because when you look back at Infinity War, when people started invading, Wakanda knew about it. New York knew about it. Wherever the Avengers were, they all knew about it. Captain Marvel came down and helped in Endgame, so like she knew about it because of Nick Fury.
So why aren't these people
responding when this is happening? I don't care if Spider-Man's off fighting the Sinister Six or if he's laying in bed asleep. I don't care. Like
respond to this.
There's a world-ending event, and you're just gonna like not be involved. Like just for storyline purposes for the movie, it doesn't really make sense that there's nobody else. But that's also how a lot of other movies were, in the MCU. Right. So.
But you look at it though too. There was that scene like where Thor is giving his speech, a motivational speech kind of thing and everything, and you look at the people that are standing there and stuff. There's obvious like empty spaces in between some of these characters for them to have took out or edited out some of those characters as to not reveal who they are. But because they revealed the whole cast of the movie a long time ago, a few years ago or whatever, like with those scene with all those chairs or whatever, and it showed the actors' names. Like, why are they hiding people? From this scene in this trailer. Yeah. Or who are they hiding for that matter, and why are they hiding them, and that kind of thing. So you do have at least that sort of mystery to it, but yeah, it seems weird that you wouldn't at least have Thor teaming up with even the Guardians of the Galaxy and Star-Lord on Earth and Doctor Strange and those kind of people instead of Ant-Man and Falcon. It's what's Falcon gonna do? I don't even know how he survived. Well, yeah, Falcon America as they'll call him. I don't know how he even survived against Red Hulk and Captain America 4. But yeah, it just seems weird. The Thunderbolts are your team to take on Doom. It doesn't fit. I know there are probably going to be more characters that show up in this movie, but for right now, just from this trailer alone, you almost can't even be hyped for the movie because a lot of these main characters that are really powerful that could realistically take on Doom aren't present in the trailer.
Like Sentry.
Right. He's kind of off in the distance or whatever.
We don't officially see
we don't know. Yeah.
Nightcrawler might put up a fight too.
I know, and why are they omitted from this trailer? You'd think you'd want to put the biggest names and the most prominent figures in the MCU into your trailer to bring everybody together and get it hyped up as much as you can. It doesn't really make sense on Marvel's part why they would exclude a lot of people. But I get if it's going to be this big reveal about something and then we see that scene actually play out in the movie and there's these characters we wouldn't expect, then maybe that's a good reason to do it. But it just doesn't make sense for your trailer why you would want to omit something like that.
But yeah, there's a lot of characters that were announced that aren't in this, and then there's people that weren't announced that should be in this. Then there's no telling if they're going to be or not. The next question we have is... how are the heroes being brought into these other universes? Are they traveling there intentionally? Like the Fantastic Four, I think we kind of know decided to get in their ship and fly here.
And it seems like even from this trailer that they're like picking up a lot of the people. Like Steve Rogers is on their ship. I think Thor's on their ship when he meets Steve Rogers again. And they fly to the Wakanda and everything else and meet the Wakandans. So it does seem intentional that they got here and probably flew through one of the rifts or created their own wormhole to get here or whatever happened. But through these incursions, like, are they being sucked here through the incursions, through like a black hole, or are these characters actually traveling, like we said with the Fantastic Four?
See, I think it's going to end up being kind of where somebody is opening a portal and it's coming through. And if you look back into Deadpool and Wolverine, in the end credits scene with Gambit, where the sling ring kind of opens up the portal.
I think it was a deleted scene or something,
or whatever it was. But there was a scene where it looked like what was a sling ring portal that was opened and Gambit came through. That's why he's the only one out of that group that's kind of here, at least that we know of.
Because he's in the X mansion with all the other X. So I think he was brought there by Deadpool.
This could go back to another theory that what if Doctor Strange is working
is like
kind of
people
with Doctor Doom, or he's recruiting people to fight against Doctor Doom. Either way, this could be his way of doing that. We know the Wizards have done that before, where they brought people together. They did it in Endgame. Everybody came out of portals and helped fight against Thanos. So that could have been kind of what was going on here, like either Strange or Wong or heck, even Ned at this point. Could have opened the portal that Gambit jumped through because they needed Gambit's help for whatever reason in this battle, or either fighting against Doom or fighting with Doom or whatever the circumstance may be. So it could be that they are being intentionally brought together.
But by who, I guess, is the question. Yeah. Are they being brought together to fight against Doom? Are they being misled by Doom or somebody associated with Doom to bring them together? I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at it just from this trailer and everything, which I think makes it a lot of fun. It is cool seeing these characters interacting and stuff, though. Like Gambit versus Shang-Chi, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, that's right.
That looks like that'll be a fun fight, just from the trailer and everything. But yeah, it's just... It kind of seems like it's a little bit of both. Like, some characters probably are unintentionally getting to certain universes. So, with the Avengers ending up in the X-Men universe, that's why they're fighting against it. That's why Gambit is fighting Shang-Chi. That's why we see Mystique fighting Yelena. Because they don't belong there, and the X-Men are protecting their universe, so they're fighting against them. So maybe they were brought there unintentionally, and then now they have to escape together or convince each other to work together, and that kind of thing. And then you also have, the Fantastic Four are traveling these other universes. So maybe I'm just misreading it or, not looking into it like others are, but I kind of feel like it's probably a mix of both. I feel like they're unintentionally being pulled together, but they're going to work together to get out of the universe that they're stuck in so they can face Doom. And then that's going to be the big team-up thing by the end of the movie where they all come together or something from those three different universes. And speaking of the three different universes, that brings up our last question number 5. Why is it these specific universes that are being brought together through the incursion? What are the chances that it's the Fantastic Four's universe that we just saw from Fantastic Four First Steps that's being dragged into the main MCU timeline or universe, whatever you want to call it,
that also
along with the X-Men? It seems like it's just those three. I don't think there's really any other universe that would make sense. I don't think they can get the Sony Spider-Man universe. Maybe they can, I don't know, but I think Disney would have to buy Sony first for that to happen. But it's almost similar to with Spider-Man No Way Home, where they had the 3 Spider-Men join forces and stuff. It's what are the odds that it was that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man universes that were brought into the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe? It just seemed like, obviously it was a fan service movie and everything, but when you really break it down and think about it, it doesn't actually make any sense how it was those specific ones. So why is it these specific universes that are being brought together? Why is Doom if he's going after these 3 specific universes and that's what's causing the incursions or whatever, then like why are they being brought together? I think it could possibly be because like like Monica Rambeau ends up in the X-Men universe, so like she's the connection. She causes the rift there, and then you got Deadpool ending up in the MCU, but it's still, what are the odds out of all these billions and billions of universes that these 3 main ones that we've seen already over the years from watching all these movies are the 3 that just happen to come together? Like, right. I think I'd like to see like other universes as well and different variations of characters brought together. I think that would be interesting as well. Like seeing 2 Captain Americas interacting with each other again, or 2 Thors. But that was more their own timeline. But still, you get the gist of it. Like instead of just seeing that Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, Magneto and Xavier and stuff. Like, get another variant played by different actors or something. Because that could also be a way for them to, like, build their own X-Men universe when they combine them all together and have their X-Men mutant saga in the MCU. You could have the new actors that they get from this other universe that are pulled in here instead of those guys. Yeah. Because Ian McKellen and them being in this movie feels like they're going to be killed off. Yeah. Because they're so old anyways, and they're probably not going to come back for another round of playing those characters anyways. It just seems a bit odd that it's those specific universes. I know the movie will tie it together and it'll make sense why those 3 universes are being brought together, but for the sake of the whole plot and this trailer and everything, it's kind of like just almost like convenient that it's those 3 specific ones, Yeah,
when you look at it, you kind of have to think like what was going on in these 3 specific universes that caused them to have that incursion. And you could look at it from Monica's, what she did in the Marvels, or Steve during the time heist and staying back with Peggy, or there's something bringing them together. Could be Doom, could be something else, or incursions could just happen. Like we don't really know what exactly is causing these 3 to come together, and that's what's interesting. But it also kind of begs the question as to what was that thing that made these 3 special. And I'm looking at it like maybe it's a character's death or like a big event. Like maybe these 3 universes all no longer have a Doctor Strange, or no longer have a Tony Stark, or no longer have a Steve Rogers, that type of thing.
That's the similarity,
and that's why they're able, because with those characters in their realities, nothing could touch them. But once they're gone, that kind of thing. It could be something like that, or it could be that maybe just something happened that caused these universes to collapse, and then stuff just was brought together, and it could be Thanos' snap in Infinity War. Like maybe it just caused the universe to fracture in different ways. It could be Doctor Strange's spell in Spider-Man No Way Home that kind of opened the multiverse, and it's just bringing everything together. But again, if it was going to be a direct cause of Doctor Strange, then why isn't it the other Spider-Man universes? Why isn't it everything else that we saw, like in the sky, in the in the rift in the sky when he did the spell? Why isn't it all those other universes? Why is it only these 3? Yeah. It's going to be hard to tell until we actually see the movie, obviously, and understand why these 3. And apart from just wanting to kind of like rewrite the MCU so you get rid of all these extra characters that you're not going to need in the future, by getting rid of them now and then setting up something new in the future. Apart from that, which is, I hope, not what they're planning, where they're just like, we're just going to throw these characters together, get rid of them, who cares about this movie, and then, move on. I hope they actually have a plot for it, and I'm sure they do. Kevin Feige's pretty good at putting stuff together, but yeah, it's just, it is kind of random and convenient that it's these 3 realities.
And crossover is going to be really cool, like, with these characters. Like, this is the first time we're going to see the X-Men, like, the OG X-Men with the OG Avengers, sort of, I guess.
Yep.
Or just with the Avengers in general. Like, it is going to be a lot of fun to see all these things. It's just, but when you really think about, like, that aspect of it, like, it is ironic and convenient, like you said, that it's these specific universes. So, obviously, that question will be cleared up, and it is going to be fun, but I just like to theorize, like, exactly why it would be these three, universes. Obviously, these are the main ones they're taking characters from and taking inspiration from and everything else. And the X-Men universe is really what sort of pivot, or what sort of kick-started these kind of, world-building and shared universe movies, in a way, that led to the Avengers and everything. So you kind of look at it like that was the starting off point, and this is going to be the culmination of, like, literally everything Marvel's ever done, pretty much. And then now they just branch off from there, and it's officially a brand new thing with brand new characters or brand new actors playing the original characters that we've seen before, but with new stories and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun, honestly, for this movie. And this movie is just going to be a lot of fun, I feel like. Do you have any other thoughts or questions before we end this video?
No. I mean, I think everything obviously will be explained in the movie, and it is going to be kind of exciting to see what they do. It's also going to be interesting to see how Doom goes from here, because if this is truly, like, setting up for Battle World and that bigger sort of thing with Dr. Doom at the helm, to where he's in charge of the universes and bringing everything together, like, how do you build off of that with the new cast of characters? Right. If you were to reset the MCU and start over with different actors, how do you kind of build off of that? Like, is Doom just going to recreate these characters? Is something going to happen? Are they even going to mention it, or are we just supposed to forget it ever happened?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of feels thing. Like that route. Like, it's going to almost Spider-Man No Way Home us, and just
where
forget
like,
about all that.
It never happened, and all you know is Battle World, which is basically kind of what Thanos was trying to do anyways. At least in Endgame, when he said, "I'll just get rid of all of you and start a new world where nobody knows the past." That's all I got.
But let us know what you guys think down in the comments. What did you think about the trailer? And what are you looking forward to the most about Avengers Doomsday? I know I'm kind of excited to go see it, just because even though it hasn't had a lot of build, like, obviously Doom hasn't been in any other movies, like, because they were obviously starting to build toward Kang. I still feel like it is going to be exciting and just this big thrill ride of a movie that we're going to get to see. And I'm curious where they go from Doomsday and how it sets up Secret Wars and everything. Thank you for watching the video, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.